Welcome to The Man in Charge. My name is Robert, and we're going to be talking stocks and the market. But before I do that, I wanted to talk about my upcoming trip. Well, my family and I are going to be flying out to California at the end of the month. It's very exciting because we're planning on going to no other than Disneyland. It's going to be fun. I really enjoy going there, and this is going to be our second time going with our baby boy. The first time we went, he was, I want to say, around 9 months old, and I'm not sure he remembers any of it. But now that he's close to being, I think he's gonna be a year and 6 months by the time that we make it out there. My only fear is that California is going crazier every month. That's why we moved out here to Texas, and my son was actually born in Texas. So, yeah, and since we have a lot of family out in California, then yeah, he's gonna be seeing a lot of the crazy stuff every once in a while. Especially since we're going to the LA area. And I remember the last time that we went out there, we flew out there. Once we got off the flight and we went to check out our bags, we started smelling a strong odor of the marijuanas. That was insane because we are at the airport. But nevertheless, California, being the state that it is in, is going to expose a lot of families that are traveling into LA to drugs and other crimes. Right before we left Texas, actually, right before we left California, we went into a CVS. This was 1 week before we moved out, and I grew up in California. My wife and I did grow up in Southern California. 1 week before we moved out, we went into a CVS and we noticed that there was this criminal stealing stuff from right off the shelves. And I was in shock. And 1 minute later, he walked out and just left. The alarms went off, but no one did anything. Yeah, it's a bit crazy out there, but we're gonna be going, and I mean, there's a lot of cool things to do, but we may in the future start minimalizing the amount of time that we spent out there. But yeah, we're happy here in the great state of Texas. We are finally feeling like this is home. For a long time, it didn't feel like that, because this almost felt like a foreign land. But now I feel that we are set. We are set. We are involved with a great church with similar theological convictions, and yeah, we enjoy it out here. The people are great. There is more of a family-centered upbringing with a lot of the people that I meet. A lot of the younger generations that are part of our church, I have noticed that they do hold to strong family values, which is right where we want to be. We will be making it out there at the end of the month, and that should be fun. One thing that California that we do miss is the food. The food out in California, it may be because we grew up eating a lot of the Southern Californian slash Mexican food that reminds us of how great it really is, especially when you've been starved from that for a long time. We really appreciate the food. Even something like many people may not be familiar with this, but I really enjoy Yoshinoya. That I think it's a Japanese styled uh, teriyaki bowl. It's good. There aren't any here in Texas, so once we make it out there, I think it should be fun. And Disneyland is always fun. It brings out the kid in you. Yeah, but yeah, let's just jump right into the stock market. Yeah, it looks like today on June 14th, 2023, it was a good day. It looks like the interest rates have stopped rising, at least for the time being. They are currently going to be sitting at 5%, um, according to the Federal Reserves, which is a good thing, or at least a good indicator that we may be experiencing uh, some reversal of the inflation. Which, I mean, we can get into a discussion on that. And can inflation really be reversed? Probably not. But nevertheless, there is some good indication as to what direction the market is going to be heading. It may be that we may no longer be in a bear market, but now potentially we may start going into a bull market, which is great for the individual investor to start looking at where we want to allocate our resources. So that was great news, and I believe Powell also indicated that there is a upward trend that we might be heading towards in regards to the inflation, and which is a good thing. I've noticed that, yeah, all across the board, all across all goods, there has been an increase in price. A good indicator for that is the consumer price index, which also I believe was mentioned today when Powell was speaking about the rate hike. It looks like the CPI has been pretty high, and he did mention that there is a possibility that that indicator may start dropping, and maybe we start getting out of paying, or at least seeing an increase in prices. Because everywhere we go, at least everywhere I go, yeah, food, the grocery store, even in oil change, I've noticed that there has been an increase in that. So that is a good thing to start taking into consideration with when it comes to our financial stewardship. And I also want to talk about Target. It seems like Target is still experiencing some negative repercussions in their stock price due to their participation in the culture of death. It's continuing to happen, and it looks like now there is a push towards Walmart, and I read an article that was suggesting that Walmart is a good option if the investor does not want to consider Target as an option. Walmart is a good runner-up, and that's such a shame, because Target is I would consider them a good business in regards to the way they market, the way they their brick and mortar store or the way they are set up. There's so many good aspects to Target, but this one little thing just causes an uproar when your average consumer is not totally for what you're selling. So I think maybe there was some mistakes there. And another thing that I noticed was that this Bud Light thing is still continuing. I noticed that Garth Brooks, a country rock star, is advocating Bud Light, and that was completely out of left field. I would have imagined Garth Brooks to be a conservative that will stand against these cultural perversities. A few years back, I remember Garth Brooks did speak out against Bernie. I'm not sure if it was intentional, but it seemed like he wasn't advocating Bernie. And it was a weird story. I think there was an Instagram post where Garth Brooks was seen at I think it was a Detroit Lions game, and on the back of his jersey it said Sanders, and as always, social media was attacking the post, and it looked like Garth Brooks said, "No, I'm not an advocate for this presidential candidate." So it seemed like he was an outspoken conservative, but now it seems like he is not. He has a popular bar out in Tennessee, in Nashville, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said that he will continue to serve Bud Light, and if you don't like it, then you can shove it. He does not want to take a stand to the culture of death, which is kind of a shock. But then, what can you expect when the devil starts spreading lies about what's right and what's wrong? At this point, what's wrong is right and what's right is wrong. It's as simple as that. So now I'm heartbroken because I do like Garth Brooks, and I can't listen to him anymore I can, of course, I can do whatever I want. However, I can't listen to Garth Brooks in good conscience knowing that I'm listening to someone that is immoral, that even if he was right and maybe he wants to be more inclusive when it comes to his products, even if he's right that he's doing the right thing for a greater purpose, which is the greatest purpose is following the will of God and loving him forever. That's the best thing that man can do. Yeah. Then even if he's right, I just couldn't take it in good conscience because it's you're not standing up for what's right. Anyways, that was more of a tangent. It was something to see, and I am still a little bit shocked by that. And let's see, what else did I want to touch on? Yeah, so it just it seems like we are in a good place to start looking into different stocks. And one of the most controversial things right now is the usage of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence it seems to be where the future is heading. And if the future is heading towards artificial intelligence and the sort, then as Christian stewards of our resources, we must also equip ourselves to be ahead of the curve. And I'm not going to be talking about why artificial intelligence may be immoral or unethical and the fear of artificial intelligence potentially taking over just as in Terminator. But one thing that did come to mind a few years back, I was looking into this company called Teradyne. And Teradyne was one of the main focuses of Teradyne was to create hardware for artificial intelligent products. And that was a few years back. Back then, I mean, there was conversations as to what AI could look like, and I think now we're getting to get a better picture. Back then, it was an undervalued stock. It did rise to its highest price in 2020, right before the pandemic. And now Jim Cramer listed the Teradyne stock as a buy, which is something to consider. I believe it did not provide a dividend payout, but it did have a low PE ratio as compared to the competition. So Teradyne, something to look at. And so that'll be all for today. Yeah, this is just the third video that I started that I created. But down the road, this channel it's going to start gaining more traction because our financial stewardship is important. It's important because as Christians, we want to use our resources to its optimal and maximal to its max. And when we start using our resources better, we will start noticing or at least we can start seeing the life of the Christian in long term, not this short term thinking, living day by day, but what can we start doing? Where can we start allocating our resources so that we can maximize our profits and where they have an impact in the future of our children, our future of our children's children. That is Christian stewardship. Now, this is not the prosperity gospel channel, nor is this there's different eschatological point of views that may be geared more towards this type of thinking. Hey, and it may be that kind of channel. You never know. But it is a Christian stewardship channel. And I mean, we're still starting off, and we want to grow, and eventually, you know what the Lord has for this. But we're starting small. I just have a microphone. I have a webcam, and hey, let's continue to do this. And as always, we seek to satisfy ourselves in the Lord Jesus Christ. That's who we are. We are slaves to the Lord Almighty, to the one that sits at the right hand of the Father. He is in charge, whether we like it or not, and all things will be reconciled to him. And that's another facet of this channel. It's not only how we steward our resources, but also proclaim the name of Christ. Proclaim the triune God, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's our chief end, is to glorify the triune God and enjoy him forever. And that will be all for this episode. And I will be posting again. I believe I will be posting on Saturday. Let's see what happens in the next few days, and we'll talk more on I'll probably even talk about my story, how I started off as just as a spender, a pagan, a dirty atheist, and how Christ converted me. And we'll talk about that. But for now, stay blessed, be blessed, and love God with all your heart. See you guys.